All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I am excited to share this topic and glad to see some folks here. Hey, Tom. Hey, Ashley. Just so everyone knows, we talk about these workshops on social media in the emails we send out, and our team will reach out as well if we're already connected with you so we can invite you to these. And if you register, then you get access to the live chat, where it's easy to get links to docs and things like that. And so that's a great reason to be there. We, of course, post them up in the comments and on the screen so you can type those URLs into. But to be able to have active conversation, you can either register and join, or if you're watching this on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever you're at, you can comment as well. And we will be able to help you and serve you and help you with whatever questions you have. So on our BME crew calls, we talk about a lot of different things, but with one intention, the intention of helping all of the folks in our audience that we care about, our clients and everybody in our community. We want to serve you well with being able to provide great leadership direction, because leadership really trickles down into everything we talk about at the technology and marketing level. And BME Crew was created to help provide services to entrepreneurs, to small business owners who are looking to grow and expand, make a bigger impact with the business that they're creating in the world, and who need support, whether you need some help with email marketing, or you just need some accountability calls to help you keep on track, or you need our crew to step in and build things out for you, like sales pages or Facebook ad campaigns, or anything like that. We're a really experienced world-class team, and we love serving clients who want to make a positive impact in the world. And so that's who we are, and we're here to serve. And we hold these weekly workshops. Sometimes we do them every week. Sometimes we do them at different schedules. We're still kind of testing and optimizing what serves our audience here best, the folks like you in our community who we appreciate. And so we hold these to really just provide valuable education, support, information, and leadership to small business owners as it relates to their technology, their marketing, and again, how they're leading their business operationally as well. I'm really excited today because we're going to be talking about retention marketing, and I love that because this is an area that is so powerful. I'm really glad that Kayla is going to be sharing that with us today. It's something that's powerful, and I think it's a really great thing to be talking about here early in the year, because I always need a reminder to practice this. It's one of the things we practice, and I also need to always be reminded to practice what we preach. And so I'm excited to be a student here today and learn from what Kayla's prepared. And also there's some great things that her and I are going to talk about. And so my invitation to everybody here is be present for yourself. Take time and turn off other distractions, really show up for yourself by not trying to do 18 things at once. You'll miss everything. Instead, just take a breath and be here for yourself and get ready to learn. And as you have questions, please do drop those into the chat. We will be answering those live as some of those come in, and we're also going to we have Nathan and Ashley from BME Crew here as well, and they will answer questions for you in chat. So if anybody has any questions, drop those in as we go. But with all that being said, welcome everybody. We're really grateful that you're spending time with us here today, and I'm going to turn it over to Kayla.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is pretty exciting and kind of strange because I've given a presentation before, but this is the first time I'm actually getting to do it live. So I'm very excited to be here with all of you. And as Gabe said, there's a lot of information that we're going to cover today. So keep your eyes and ears open and let's jump into it. So today I wanted to talk about retention marketing and just 3 really simple strategies that you can do for turning a 1K investment into 10K, because I think it's something that a lot of major companies do. We always see advertisements from Venmo, we see it from Coca-Cola, we see it from Google, and they're never truly selling us anything, but the way that they interact with their branding and their customer retention journeys that they've built out, it's something that I think that we can all follow. And oddly enough, it's just something that I don't see a whole lot of businesses doing. And so I want to cover the importance of why retention marketing is something that can really bring you in a lot more money when you follow the strategies right. So just to give you a quick overview of what we're going to be going over today, we're going to be talking about returning versus first-time customers. I think it's important to know the difference between the two as you are thinking about what customer retention really is. We're going to talk about building brand recognition and how that plays into getting those first-time buyers to come back and keep making repeated purchases. We'll talk about the simplest customer journey in very basic terminology because we all have the curse of knowledge. And look at things from either a marketing or business perspective. So it's good to see things broken down to their simplest concepts. Also spicing things up when it comes to retention marketing. And then also tonight's giveaway that we're going to be looking over today. So first, let's look at the difference between returning and new customers. So both have their advantages and disadvantages, but when we think about why it matters and why we're putting the effort into these two different groups, we look at 4 major sections. So we have purchasing history, we have familiarity, and so that's familiarity with your brand, with your company, your services, anything that has to do with who you are as a business, the relationship that these different segments have with you, and then also the level of spending that you would typically see with these two groups. So for the purchasing history with returning customers, of course, since they've made that initial purchase and they've already interacted with your brand, they're already beginning to build those preferences. And so a great example just in real life of a company that has used great preference history to their advantage is Netflix. So over time, they've gone from, catering to people who wanted DVDs in their house to eventually transferring to their subscription service that they have online. And something that they do for preference history is, if you guys didn't know this, if you have multiple different preferences for genres, which of course most of us do, Netflix actually will take what kind of genres you like, and they will show you custom thumbnails for the same exact show. So me and Gabe could be watching the same show on Netflix, and if I have a preference to comedy and Gabe has a preference for romance, then my thumbnail would be some goofy scene happening from the movie, or it would be like somebody laughing, somebody joking. But Gabe's thumbnail would be like 2 of the actors kissing in the scene or a really romantic shot. And so they use those different preferences to their advantage to make sure that they're doing those custom interactions with their audience without actually ever saying anything. Now, with new customers or new prospects, of course, you don't have that purchasing history, right? They're brand new to your brand, and so they don't have as much familiarity in that sense. Now, when it comes to the actual familiarity, of course, returning people have awareness of your brands and services. They know what you offer. They had to do some digging into your company to figure out who you are and what you offer. So, of course, they're familiar. New customers are great because they're impressionable, but they're mostly used for just new offer testing. They might do some research on your brand, but considering that they haven't made that first purchase, they just don't know your company quite as well as somebody who might come back and buy another product or service from you. For relationship building, the great thing, this is probably my favorite part of like customer retention strategy, because you are getting more of like that personal, like one-on-one connection with customers, because they're going to be interacting with your customer service more than just your layout of your website. You have the ability for people to go and make purchases. If they have any issues, they're able to reach out to their customer service representative at your company, or just somebody who's able to help them. They might get confirmation emails where you have some more of that one-on-one communication. But anybody who is a new prospect and is looking at your company or your offers for the first time is going to solely rely on your UI UX. Customer service is something that you can always come back and try to correct and make sure that journey is as pleasant as possible for somebody. But for a new prospect who hasn't made that first purchase, you have to hope that everything that you've laid out in your campaign is 100% correct, completely smooth, and you have to do some more testing in that sense. And then, of course, the thing that all business owners are concerned about is the level of spending that these people put into this, right? So returning customers have already made that initial purchase. And so when they come back, they might feel more compelled, since they trust your brand a little bit more, to invest in more of those products and services. But a new customer will likely have, maybe they're coming in from your lead magnet, maybe they got like a promo email after they signed up for like a newsletter, but they're mainly used for those single offers or like those single entry points. And so breaking down the numbers, this is something that I'm sure is probably scary for everybody, but when you are trying to acquire a new customer, you have the potential to spend up to 25 times more than you do on returning customers, because like I said, you have so much work to put into these new prospects that you are investing a lot more dollars to build that trust and build that brand recognition with these people. However, if you are working with returning customers, people who you know are going to come back and make a purchase, they actually end up spending 67% more than a new customer would, no matter what kind of offer you put out there for them. And so, of course, people say, well, these different like branding, strategies and branding techniques don't really matter. They don't bring me sales. So why should I bother? I'm only concerned with lead generation. I want to get the sale. That's all that matters to me, right? I need you guys to get rid of that mentality. There's a big difference between short-term and long-term goals in your business, both of which are important. But lead generation can be a very short-term strategy. You're focused on putting an offer out there and having them buy it. But branding ensures that whenever somebody either makes a first purchase or hasn't made a first purchase, every time they're looking up something that's related to your company, you are continuously putting your brand in front of them. And so it is a personal secret weapon, and branding is a long-term strategy, but it does really pay off. When you think about the complexity of working with returning customers, as we've mentioned in previous workshops, it's important to narrow down who you're talking to and how you're segmenting your audience, because your branding is going to reflect that. If you have people who are interested in one service or maybe like one of your products, but wouldn't be a good fit for anything else, if you try to lump some of those people all into one group without looking at the complexity of that buying behavior, you're going to essentially be shooting yourself in the foot. So tracking customer journeys and building those segments can be challenging, and it might take some trial and error, but if you get it right, then you can really identify every niche in your market and build your branding to cater to that. Additionally, you have a multi-touch point customer journey. And so if you are putting that branding on multiple different channels, me, for example, Venmo thinks that I am really, really interested in them right now because I've been, sending money to my landlord for my rent payments and paying my electricity bills. And so I've been getting ads for them on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and I've even seen them on my LinkedIn somehow. So those different customer journey touch points just continuously pushes them to the front of your mind. And so whenever I do go to make another money transfer and I'm like, oh, am I going to use PayPal? Am I going to use Cash App? I'm always going to be using Venmo because it's just the first thing that now comes to my mind as second nature. Additionally, when you think about the different aspects of branding, it also helps you become a leader in your industry. And so when you have more of those touch points, like I said, Venmo is a great example. Other examples are Band-Aid, Crock-Pot, Frisbee, and Chapstick. Those are not words, those are brands, which if you guys didn't know that, that's something that I actually discovered for the first time about a month ago. And there's many, many other companies that do that, but because they have always pushed out their branding, they've now just become a word that we use in everyday life. So, after that first sale, if you're able to continuously push out your brand name and your company in front of those people, when they go to make that second purchase, third purchase, fourth purchase, you're going to be right at the front of their mind. And so don't assume that just because you were able to make that first sale that these buyers are always going to remember you. We have a lot on our plates and a lot of different brands in our house. And if you don't remember or remind people that they bought XYZ from you, they'll go back to that initial research phase. So it's important to make sure that you're continuously putting your name out there because, like I said, there's a lot going on. And so we sometimes just need those little mental triggers to remember the brands that we really love. And so there's a lot of things to think about when you're thinking about customer journeys. Like I said, we have this curse of knowledge where we say, oh, I'm going to show my ads everywhere. They're going to go to my landing page. This is what they're going to see. None of those things are really important, right? When you think about the basic mentality that people have with brand recognition, it actually comes down to just interactions. And so, for example, we can think about maybe you're somebody who goes on a morning walk, and in those morning walks, you see somebody all the time that usually passes you. Maybe they live on your street, in your neighborhood. But in those interactions, on the first one, you might smile, you might nod, wave, and you might just pass them, right? The second interaction, you might feel brave enough to say hello, good morning. In that third interaction, you'll talk about the weather, something that's a little bit more basic, less personal. But in that fourth interaction, you can take that conversation up a little bit because you've seen each other more. And in that fifth interaction is where you're actually able to have those different conversations with people. And so like we saw in this example, you have two strangers that are passing by. They know nothing about each other, right? Just they both like morning walks and they see each other at the same time every day. And in those first few interactions, you're not really doing a whole lot, but just being present, essentially. You're just there. And so as people, we take a lot of assumptions when we are engaging with not only people, but also companies. And so as these interactions go on and you become more familiar, you're able to expand that conversation. And so for this example, you're passing by and you say, hey, I see you on walks every morning. And I always see you in those shoes. What kind of brand are they? And you might say, oh, it's Nike. I walk every day with them because I have really bad ankles. You're getting a little bit more of that information. The next point is, oh, hey, I have a friend who actually makes custom shoes. lo and behold, for people who have really bad ankles. And that person might say, that's awesome. Like, what kind of brand is it? Because I'm always looking for something like that. But and so think about if you were able to have like more of those interactions. We just use like passing each other on the street on a morning walk as an example, but maybe you see them at the grocery store. Maybe you interact with them when you're going to pick up your kids from school, passing in your car down the street on your way to your house, or even seeing each other at a mutual friend's party. And so what happens if you don't work up to those kind of conversations, right? What happens if you just see somebody on a walk and maybe you've seen them once or twice, and you jump into the final stages of that conversation because you're assuming, oh, you go for walks, you must, maybe you feel the need to get healthier, like maybe you're changing up your regime, maybe you just like the weather in the mornings, who knows? But essentially, it'll be your first and last interaction with that person, because if you jump into, hey, morning, I see you have some awesome shoes, what kind are they? You might get like a one-word response like, oh, it's Nike. Like, I don't know this person, right? And you say, oh, that's awesome. I have somebody who builds custom shoes. That person's going to think you're really weird, right? Because you are suddenly making all these assumptions and jumping into it and providing more information without that familiarity. And so even though these two people were complete strangers and didn't know really a whole lot about each other or their backgrounds, just being present and being at the front of their mind and being consistent with your approach can help build those bigger conversations and build additionally customer retention, right? And so this is why branding takes time. And it's important to customer retention because for new customers, you're making first impressions. If you go into it trying to do that sales approach, you might scare people away without building those initial conversations and getting people familiar with who you are. You're working on building trust. It comes with a lot of consistency and repetition, and showing out the uniqueness of who you are as a company and why people should invest time and interest in you. And so as a little exercise, kind of surrounding brand recognition and customer retention, I am going to ask everybody who's watching this live to name at least 3 men's body care brands. And so no Googling and no running to your bathroom to check your shower, because I know that everybody knows at least 3 of these, whether you know it or not. So I'll give everybody just a second to do that.
Do you want some from me too?
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Arm & Hammer.
I was going to say, you should do this, Gabe.
I'm sorry, Old Spice is what I meant. I don't know if those are the same. Or why I think those are related. Old Spice, Mary Kay, actually. I forget what their men's line names. I think it's just like MK or something. Those are the only 2 I can think of.
Let's see if anybody else had some insights on. Yep. Awesome. I'm loving the answers that we're seeing, because this is going to go great into our next point. Dove, that's the one that I know is pretty common in my household, at least. Axe, native, yep. Dr. Squatch, yep, new to the scene, but definitely made quite a loud brand announcement with their advertising for sure.
Oh, you know what? I don't use it, but Dollar Shave Club is always one that ends up coming to mind pretty quickly. Very cool.
All right. So I saw a lot of answers too for Old Spice, which is awesome, because I am going to be talking a little bit about Old Spice today, because I've just been so amazed by their ability to do their branding advertising. There are very few commercials that exist right now for Old Spice where they're like, buy this specific scent or buy this specific type of body care that we have. They're never advertising the deodorant, the shampoo, the spray. It's always just Old Spice, right? And so they're not trying to make a direct offer, but they're relying entirely on these different segments that they get into. And so just to show you kind of how Old Spice advertising has changed over time, initially it was catered to mostly 60-plus-year-old men as a older and more antique brand. And then over time kind of catered more to these different segments, which we're going to get into here in just a second. But first, because we can't live without it, we have to watch this video.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But if he stopped using lady-scented body wash and switched to Old Spice, he could smell like he's me. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat with the man your man could smell it. What's in your hand? Back at me. I have it. It's an oyster with 2 tickets to that thing you love. Look again. The tickets are now diamond. Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady. I'm on a horse.
All right. So just to do a few things, I'm going to actually be calling on you, Gabe, to answer a few questions because I'm curious to see, and anybody else can answer along with these questions too, but just to see like how this kind of branding like works with us, right? So Gabe, what do you think the target audience was? Who would you say that is?
Probably my age group. I would say probably like my guess is their target is probably like either late 20s, or like 30s to 45 is my guess. Because I think that they probably are trying to lock us in at this age because it's like very brand specific. And when we're in our 30s and early 40s, I don't know about our 50s yet, but I think we start to reminisce and remember like, oh, my grandpa used that aftershave. Or like, I think it's where they lock us in generationally. That's my guess. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're definitely on track with the age group. Which gender do you think they were catering to in that commercial?
I think it would be easy to say women, but it's for men. Because I think it's for men because obviously we want to be attractive to our partners, or if we're single and dating, we want to be attractive. So that's how I perceived it. What do you think?
I like your answers. Let me see I want to see if anybody else has any other thoughts on what they think the gender for this commercial was, or at least a target for gender.
Yeah, put that in the chat. That'd be great because it'd be interesting to see too, like with this level of writing and production quality, I wonder too, Kayla, and you would probably know better than me at this point, honestly, like if they're able to like multifaceted gender and audiences, because like that's kind of what you're talking about, which I love, is that if we hit the brand right, multiple facets of our audience are connected. And now that I'm talking out loud, what I said now feels kind of stupid because women make all the buying decisions for everything in the household. So maybe it's actually towards the women in that. And I just liked it. And I'm not going to be mad when she buys it for me. Let's see here. We'll put some other guesses up. Keith says targeting men. And I like this one from, Ashley said women. Melissa said women. Yep, finally, I got it right, Melissa. And let's see what Steve said. Yep, that's right. We're knights in shining armor, right, Steve? And Tom said, yeah, make sure to wear what my wife likes. Yeah, that's always a good plan, Tom, isn't it? And this is the end all answer. I'm pretty sure, actually. I don't think my husband has ever purchased his own body care. Ding, it's over. Sorry, I gave the right answer, apparently, Kayla.
No, it's awesome. I'm loving these answers because Old Spice is for men, right? And of course, if you're more up to date with their ridiculous commercials that they're always putting out, they are expanding a little bit more into like the women's sector. But I would argue that this commercial was mainly made for women, and Ashley's answers really, really helped, and so did Melissa's. Men don't care what they smell like, or they don't know what they're supposed to smell like, right? Because, I mean, you can buy a scent that you think is good, but like if you are putting in the effort to make yourself smell good, you want to smell good for ladies, right? And so I would argue that this commercial was aimed more towards women as part of their segment rather than men, though it could work for both because they're showing things like look at your man, now look at me, right? They're speaking to a female audience and they're showing these different things that aren't specific to any particular sense, just that Old Spice makes a man smell like a man. And so they created this branding to specifically segment this audience because, like you said, Gabe, like women are usually in charge of like making like these like kind of buying decisions. And I thought about this too because I do the same thing with my husband when I go to the store with him and he's like, okay, I need a new deodorant. I will go to the aisle before he does because he'll say like, go pick out 3 that you think smell good. And then I'll come in and I'll choose from the 3 that you initially pick out for me, right? Because he's like, I don't care how I really smell for me. Like, I want to smell good, but like, I want you to think that I smell nice too. So this is awesome. More for you than it is for me. And so I think that they utilize that in this specific branding. And so they're really figuring out which kind of segment that they're trying to talk to, because they do have different advertisements that are made for both. In case anybody hasn't seen the Terry Crews jamming out with the drums, that one is catered more towards men. It's less specific to the female target audience. But this kind of branding is really important because it's a way to push people to the next stage of like customer retention. Everybody thinks the commercials are hilarious. And so that's something that maybe you would even look up on YouTube in your free time because they're just funny. But also for like the next steps, and I think I even talk about this in my next slide. So maybe before I get too far ahead of myself, we'll actually just break down the different customer journeys that they have. So they're focusing again, like on their branding, right? They've built out their segments of who are they talking to. And then of course, like the next thing that is more implied that we'll get into is the intro offer. And then what we're really going to break down is how they do the retention. And so for women, we have, of course, we saw this YouTube branding ad. You can also see different image ads, like I showed at the beginning, where it's like Old Spice, where you're supposed to, where a man smells like a man. And then, of course, with the segment talking to women, the next thing would be the next place that they're likely to drive people is obviously to the store, because you're talking about scent and smell. And that's something that you just can't get from shopping online, no matter how good of a description it is. So you're pushing ladies to the store to buy their men these kinds of products, right? And so retention is something that we'll come back to here in a second. But looking back at the male segment, I'm sure people have seen other Old Spice commercials. And so I didn't have one in here just to make sure that we were staying on track for time. But same deal through these YouTube videos and through the different ads and offers, email, even on their website with their like promo offers. Their goal, since men don't really know how they're supposed to smell, it doesn't matter if they smell the deodorant or the body spray, right? They're looking for more of a description and more feedback online to make their kind of purchase. And so for both of these groups, we'll start with women first, because something that I found that I thought was very interesting about Old Spice is they have absolutely zero customer retention strategy. And it blew my mind because I was going into these examples. I was like, what is their newsletter like? You know, what kind of bundles do they have on their website? Looking at their ads and different things that they have for customer retention. There's not even a subscription to continuously buy like seasonal promos or like have a reoccurring subscription box to Old Spice, even though it is a big name brand. And so I wanted to ask everybody, based on the commercial that we just watched and some of the ads that we looked at, we know women are going to be more focused on the actual scent and are probably going to go to the store as their initial like entry point to that first offer. What do you think would be some good retention strategies that they could add on to something like this? And Gabe, you're also welcome to answer these questions.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I wonder, I don't know who does their marketing. Are they a P&G product? I think they're a Procter & Gamble product. So I wonder if like at that level of commerce, Procter & Gamble owning who knows how many products, I wonder if their retention focus is more cooperative branding with grocery stores, because they do get retention. Because I'm assuming, Kayla, that you shop at the same grocery store every couple of weeks or every week or whatever your shopping schedule is, right? So retention is about putting end caps in the store as needed, owning a big enough chunk of the deodorant aisle, so all you see is Old Spice options. It's about like, typically, I think that's part of brand management, but it's actually part of retention too in this case, because retention marketing would be always being visible in front of your customers wherever they're traveling and going. That's my idea.
You could get me going on so many different topics just from that answer. I used to work at a grocery store, so I know that like people have to pay not only for like a spot on the shelf, but where on the shelf they sit. And you pay more when you're at the eye level, and you pay a lot less for your space when you're at the bottom. So that's something that I could definitely talk way more about.
It's like channel placement, which is kind of fun to talk about. And if anybody else has, see what you think would be good ideas for Old Spice retention, because this is just totally one rabbit trail. So put those in the comments. But yeah, you could totally look at like how their overall strategy and say like, what are they doing at the Old Spice brand level, or are they just owning, the P&G market strategy? Do they push product to product, which would be interesting. I would hope, but this is not necessarily a guarantee with a big company, you would hope that they'd have like some pretty high level strategy like that, and they have good tracking metrics. Like maybe they're doing co-oping, like for a big playoff football game with a grocery store. They're probably not doing this, but like this is a concept of what I think a brand could do for attention. Like they're advertising or co-oping dollars or strategy with like Kroger, and then like that's part of what they're doing. But I bet you all their retention play, if they do have a strategy there that we don't see because we might not see it, is all about foot traffic and merchandising, because merchandising is fascinating in the retail space, and it changes so much right now because of how much pressure online puts on brick and mortar.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's like the thing that I think I found like the most interesting is that deodorant for most people is just like an everyday thing. You use it all the time. You are always going to go back to the store and buy it. It's like in its own right, it is kind of a staple, but like the brand isn't specifically a staple. And so, yeah, I love this answer that Ashley has, because as you like I said, like you're always buying it. So why not offer people a simple, easy way to make sure that they always have it in stock? It's always at home. You don't have to go to the store to smell scents. You know what you like. You can even try a few out if you want to. You could do a subscription box where it's like the 3 like seasonal scents, right? The summer scents, winter scents, like, and they can mix it up. But
well, Ashley, you should tell them that Kayla needs to go straighten out their strategy, because you're right. Because now that I'm still thinking about it from my perspective, and I'm not the consumer, which is such a weird. This is a great example, Kayla, because like I'm not actually the consumer for this product, even though I use it every single day, most days. Anyway, I know that like Rachel loves our subscribe and save stuff on Amazon, and you're totally right, Ashley. We could just have a subscription box, and she would love that because it would save her time. And let's see what Keith had a good. Keith had a good, like using coupons. Yeah, that's definitely something that can work as well too. And coupons and paper like that work really well for some brick and mortar businesses that I've seen. That's a really good idea, Keith. Or like when the purchase point is a brick and mortar, Great answers.
yeah, like this is definitely something that we can go on forever, right? Because there's so many different ways that they really could increase their retention marketing: coupons, subscription boxes. And so one of the first ideas, actually, Ashley, so she got it right, gold star, was to subscribe, right? If you build that subscription box and you know it's something that people are always going to need, why not cater to that desire, right? Why not say like, hey, you can just get like the same box if you want every single time that has shampoo, conditioner, and body spray. You don't have to do anything fancy. You can just pick the same scent over and over. Or you can find these new scents, but it depends. Like, are you talking about like a man who's like, I like this scent, I don't want to change it? Or are you talking to women who are like, I'm interested in different kinds. Let's find out, and I'll get my husband or my boyfriend a subscription box. Let's see what she has to say. Sorry, I was going back looking for what Keith was saying.
Oh, so yeah, sorry, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, Keith. Yeah, so like a subscription box is something that could work. If we're talking about the women's space, we could potentially talk about doing something that's like basic, like a quiz, asking people like, have you checked out the new scents that we have? If you don't know what they smell like, but you're curious to see which ones you should be looking for at the store, take this quiz. And maybe even just catering to those seasonal scents, something that makes them say, I want to keep coming back and buying more of the product, because there's either something new, something recurring, or like it also like takes a step out of like your everyday life, right? You don't have to remember to buy deodorant, and you don't need to put it up on your fridge whenever you need to like make that grocery list. Like Ashley said, it's nice to know, not the day of or the day before. It's nice to know a little in advance, but that's just something that's also hard to gauge. And so I think that like through these different things, it would be a really simple like customer retention strategy. Because like I said, Old Spice is very well known, but there are other, men's body care products that exist out there. We were all able to name, if not 3, then like more than that in several different sectors, and people had different answers. So you're also competing with these different groups, and to not have any sort of retention marketing, you're relying on people going back to the store and hoping that they just beeline for your product and that they're not even thinking about it. And so the branding helps a little bit with that, but not having any sort of customer retention strategy is also something that is, in my personal opinion, like a huge negative for them.
Right. They could probably throw 5 to 10% or more on the bottom line if they just put a subscription box in.
Exactly. And with a company that big, that could be millions, right? That could be a very simple strategy that takes little to no work. They could leave it. They could even, just like I said, like throw the quiz up. It's something that you wouldn't even have to change over time, but having that ability to send it out in some sort of automation already engages people more, right?
We'll tag them on social, and I'm sure they'll be calling.
Old Spice for me. And so coming around, again, like thinking about the branding or the audience segments, now coming back around to the men's section, what are some ways, now that we know that like scent is something that's important for them, they're more concerned about like a partner, a spouse, or somebody else in their life that they're trying to smell nice for. What kind of things do you think are important to these people? And what do you think would be a good customer retention strategy for the men's side of their segments?
So what do you think is like the retention goal if I'm not the final buyer? Am I still the decision maker, do we think, in the situation? Because if I think I'm the decision maker, is probably a better way to say that. Then I guess I would want to be happy with the brand image so that I think I'm cool, and equally important that my wife thinks I smell good. So yeah. Does that sound right? Am I getting close?
Yeah, absolutely. It's different. They're still decision makers. It's just different levels of decision making. Like you said, maybe if you don't have a spouse or like a significant other, maybe you're just like focus on the idea of like being manly, right? Like, so like their commercials and their branding caters to not only like your man should smell like this, but also like, here's what manly men do, and here's what manly men look like, and here's the things that we do in our everyday lives. And so they're kind of catering more to that side of it. And so as somebody who knows, like, I just want to smell nice, I have no idea what I should smell like, I'm going to rely more on testimonials and reviews that people have left, right? And that's what's going to help me in my decision making and my like purchasing and coming back. Yeah, creating the manly image. So even if whether the wife sees it or the husband sees it, you're catering to this idea of like, this is what you should look like. But I'm going to talk to the women who are watching this commercial and say, look at your man who's sitting next to you. Now look at me. Now look at him. Look at me, right? We're doing those comparisons and drawing attention from like multiple different crowds, but we're still speaking on with the same commercial to two different groups, which is like amazing marketing.
What I love about the timing of you choosing to just share this with the community right now, Kayla, is that nuanced language is something that I'm really seeing have a massive impact in marketing, and it's always been there. Like, that's a marketing principle, and it's not like something new, but I'm seeing that is such a leading factor now in effective marketing, of that nuanced language. And sometimes it's very direct, and sometimes it's not. But like you said, like, you know, look at him, look at me, look at him. Like, in that scenario, that's a perfect like contrast, but it's language that calls attention to the audience. In other scenarios, it's a completely different phrase, or it's what we uncover for our clients through the deep market research we do, that, man, clients are actually saying this, so we need to be able to respond to that as a brand and as a company. So this is so timely, because we bringing awareness to that nuance of language and messaging and marketing and advertising, and even internal marketing, meaning like the customer journey and steps you take internally with a customer wants to partner with you. Understanding that at a deeper level is absolutely not only about retention, but it creates this awareness and brand presence to attract, you know, really aligned clients and customers. So this is super cool. Thanks for sharing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just for fun fact, I mean, being aware of what people are asking for when it comes to branding, when Old Spice like first did their initial change with Terry Crews in their commercials, they were able to increase their sales by, I want to say 30%. So it was like a pretty big jump. But as soon as they started talking to women in the market, they actually tripled all of their sales. So for every like one purchase they were making by just catering to men, they were making 3 times as many purchases by segmenting into women and using that niche with their branding to actually increase their sales without ever saying, buy Old Spice. I can't even tell you the name of the products. Like, I think Kraken is one of the scents. But but just through that alone, they were able to increase their sales by making sure that their branding was on point and they were staying consistent by talking to both groups.
What you just pointed out is brilliant too, because I think I use Pure Sport, but that is like has no relevance to me using the product because Rachel picks that or likes it or whatever. So like that, the naming of the product or the scent is actually probably, my guess is, hyper targeted at women more so than men.
Yeah.
And that's why the naming usually, at least what I see, is like very small, and the rest of the product branding and imaging and product advertising, right, is all red brand. Like, yeah, that's super interesting.
And so, with like this like men's like segment, like we just discussed, there's so many different opportunities that they could have. And like just some of the ideas that I was like first coming up with, it was like, well, as a man who doesn't really care about what I smell like, I'm going to be relying on maybe like other women's testimonials who have like spoken for their man, or maybe it's a guy who's leaving a review that says, my wife loves this scent, she thinks it's great. And so they would probably go to like a bestsellers page. And so I think even being able to send out an email or being able to have like a promo on their website, because right now it's just shop all products, being able to send people to the right section is also something that helps in the customer journey. But also if maybe I like bought something at the store and I haven't even looked online, if as soon as I start looking into the Old Spice like scents, I might go to those bestseller section, because even though I smelled every single scent that there was at the store, I still don't know which one is probably the best one. And I need some guidance on that. So maybe I bought one, but want to change what I'm going to buy. Instead of just going to the store like a woman would, for that segment, I might look online for the best sellers.
Yeah, I like that.
Another way to like continue that engagement too is we're able to look at reviews and testimonials, but I think something as simple as like send us your story, or like tell us like how it changed like your relationship, and focusing more on like that duo kind of marketing rather than like just men or just women, I think is something that they could also integrate. And then also something that Old Spice does not have is a rewards program. So if you did integrate something like a subscription box or like rewards program, that could kind of come back around to like Keith's point of like, why don't you just like have coupons? Coupons are great for like those initial purchases, and you might capitalize on that as like a one-time purchase, whether you're a returning buyer or like a new buyer. But there's no reason to keep coming back and keep making that purchase, because of course you have retailers that are selling the product. But if you're also able to make a subscription box like Dr. Squatch does, you can also increase your sales that way too.
Yeah, I love that.
And so it really just comes down to like personalized communication and how you interact with these different segments and how you talk to these different groups. You can do things like seasonal offers, something that doesn't take a whole lot of work, but you just make sure that it's fitting to the season, whether that's like grilling season for the summer, make sure that you smell like a man during grilling season, burgers and man scent, I suppose. And then things like you can make like a VIP list by focusing on loyalty rewards programs, even like sneak peeks at like the upcoming scents that are coming out, just building a little bit more of that community and encouraging people to come back and see what you're doing. This repeated buyer rewards kind of comes into that like loyalty program, or just some sort of like rewards program for continuously purchasing the same kind of product or from the same brand. And even like early access and previews. And so these are all just like a few different ways that you can personalize that communication, whether it's through email, whether it's through branding, or any other retention marketing that involves branding where you're not actively trying to make a purchase. Just making people aware of who you are and what you do is so important, because as I go to make my next purchase, I'm going to be thinking about all these little touch points that I had and, drawing them as I go to think about like, where am I going to allocate my money and resources, in the ways that I'm going to be spending this month. And so I know that was a lot of information, and I'm sure everybody's probably a little overloaded right now. And so just to kind of recap the things that we talked about in this, leverage those returning customers. Leads are important, and it is good to have new customers coming in and seeing your brand and seeing who you are and what you offer. But it's also important to cater to people who have already bought from you, people who already trust you. They're a lot easier to target than you think they are. And so by putting more of a focus into maybe a smaller group of existing customers that you have, like we said earlier, you can make 67% more off of those returning customers and spend less money without having to make any new sales, right? If you have been building that email list and you've been working on your branding, You don't have to put any effort into that. And another thing is to like be mindful of the time that branding takes. If it's something that you're not doing, I strongly suggest everybody immediately starts thinking about the different branding that they could be doing, because it is a missed opportunity. People have so many different brands that offer the same kind of service. To say that, like, I don't think that there's a single industry that I can like name that isn't just completely like flooded, right? And there's so many different competitors that you have to work with that if you're not working on branding, one of your competitors likely is. And then the last thing is just when you're creating that personalized communication, if you're able to really figure out what your segments are, you might be able to like kill two birds with one stone, just like Old Spice did. They were able to talk to men and women in a 30-second commercial and get the same results and increase their sales. And so if you think about the different nuances that your customers have, it's also going to make that segmentation, that customer retention, and that branding a lot easier too. And so that's easy to say that it comes down to three simple things. And then you say, well, okay, but where do I actually start with all of that information? We talked a lot about concepts and psychology in this workshop. And so what I've gone ahead and done is I've created a spreadsheet that will guide you through how you can introduce an initial offer to somebody, different things that can be like quick add-ons. And this is not only for e-commerce, this can also be service-based too. If you have more of like the one-on-one communications or consultations with your audience. And then I've also included, is it something that can be a follow-up offer? Is it something that's just like a single time add-on? By rating the different interests and the related products to that first offer for new prospects, you can figure out, okay, how can I continuously advertise to them in my email marketing or my branding to make sure I'm talking to pain points and the level of interest that these people might have. And then that last section, just for ease of figuring out how you can group these different products together, because there's a lot of different segments that you can go into. Can you bundle it? If it's something that you can bundle, then maybe that's something that you should consider as a future offer to test, or even something that you want to send to like your VIP clients as like a bigger bundle that they can purchase. And so I think Gabe dropped that template down in there, right?
Yep, I put it in the chat and I put it in the comments there, and you've got it at the top there. So that'll open up a Google Sheet template that you can open up. If you have any questions with that or any challenges accessing it for any reason, just reach out to us or comment, and we'll get with you. But yeah, these are beautiful spreadsheets and templates and tools that Kayla always designs for us internally. So I wanted to share this with everybody today.
Absolutely. And something is, if you're part of BME Crew, I know that I talked to a couple of you guys that are in this live a little frequently. And so as you're going through and picking these out, it's not easy to do it on the first time around. And like I said, it's just a kind of something that you really have to sit down and think about, and something that takes time. But once you do it the first time, I promise all the other segments that you build are going to seem so much easier once you get in that mindset. And so for the BME Crew people who are here, I would love for you guys to figure out what that first offer is that you can introduce to new prospects, or maybe people who are somewhat familiar with you but haven't made that first purchase yet. Figure out what those related items, whether they're products or services, are, and then rate your interest level and then share them on School, because I would love to see what you guys come up with. And I would be happy to, refine it and help point out like the missing opportunities that you might be preventing you from, increasing your revenue and making that 1K investment that you put into your advertising, and how you can use it to increase it. And I didn't add a finishing slide, but that is the end of them, Gabe.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Kayla. You can pull that off stage here, and we'll wrap up here in a minute. That was fantastic. I was telling Kayla before we went live here on the stream today that I always get super excited when she's going to teach, because I learn a ton. And I think that it's always rewarding as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to be able to really invest in the processes that we have and work on, bringing in great folks like you, Kayla. It's such a pleasure to work with you. And I think it's important to remind ourselves as entrepreneurs that these processes that we talk about on these BME Crew workshop calls and the things that we do these take time. That's why we're business marketing engine. We build up our engine layer by layer. We get better at driving the engine we have today, and then we invest in a bigger engine and we keep stepping up. It's a continual process. And so I love when I have the opportunity now, fortunately, that I've gotten out of my own way enough anyway, that I get to have great folks like Kayla on our team share these things. And what's really cool for me as an entrepreneur is what Kayla just shared to you was communicated so effectively and at such a high level of strategy. It's something that I couldn't present to everybody in the community. And that's when businesses grow, when you have leaders in each area of your business. And oftentimes you can have the opportunity where you can have a leader come into your business who's a vendor at sometimes. So like in BME Crew, we can come in and support you and help you lead when it comes to technology, to your marketing, to your strategy, and even to like leadership and accountability things, because we know as a culture in our company at BME that when we have strong leadership, when we're supporting our team, then our clients are served really well, and then our company is healthy and profitable. And so that's why we created BME Crew, is to open that up and to share that learning, that resource, and the support and mentorship that we have available for any businesses of any size. And of course, we also love the opportunities where we built a $500,000 agricultural application last year, and we're building an AI software right now for one of our clients that we love partnering with. And we're working in some alternative health spaces, and we help personal injury attorneys. Like, we have a lot of things that we can do in different spaces and industries once we establish that relationship and that foundation. And so just kind of want to share the things that I really appreciate about doing these events and these workshops. I love having the community here, and I love the support of our amazing BME Crew clients and just all my friends and folks that get to tune in and watch us. We've worked together in the past or have met or are friends. These are really valuable because when we level up our skills as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as marketers, as technologists, whether that's leveling up by bringing in a partner to help us, or we're learning something and doing more of it on our own, that's how we grow our team, and that's how we grow our business, and that's how we make an impact on the world. So this was really powerful and valuable for me, Kayla. So thank you so much for being here. If anybody has any questions, you know where to find us. Reach out, message me, or shoot an email. Or for all of our awesome BME Crew clients, you know where to put a request in, and we will be there to help you. But thanks everybody for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you on another workshop in the future. Thank you.